Hello, everyone, and welcome back. As always, I'm your girl, Candy Washington. And before we dive into today's Kiki, which is this secret beef and feud and rivalry between Kenya Moore and Garcelle Beauvais. Now, some outlets are reporting that Garcelle hates Kenya, but I actually don't think that's true. After I did a little bit of digging, it seems more like Kenya Moore is actually jealous of Garcelle Beauvais. But before we dive in, be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss it when we go live. Also, be sure to share this with a friend because a kiki is always better with community. Check out our description box down below and shop our love collection. With that, you guys, let's dive right on in. As always, everything is alleged, rumored, and opinion based, but I'm coming with some receipts and some alleged facts. So let's get into it. So first up, this is the situation. According to Media Takeout, all right, so let me just put this up real quick and explain the situation. All right, so on the screen, we have Garcelle and her ex-husband, Michael Nylon. Now, Michael Nylon is a big, powerful agent at CAA. CAA is one of the top agencies in the world. They represent actors, athletes, musicians, pop stars, huge content creators. They're like one of the top agencies in the world. That is her ex-husband, Michael. He is also the father of her twins, Jade and Jax, okay? Now, in the other picture, it is Michael, who is now married to this woman named Shannon Barr, okay? That's his new wife, and we're going to get into that whole situation. Now, Shannon Barr, Michael's new wife, represents Kenya Moore. That is Kenya Moore's publicist and alleged really good friend, okay? Now, this is according to Media Takeout. So I'm going to read the article and then we'll walk through it. And then I'm also going to give my perspective because I did some other digging on some other stuff on whether or not it's Garcelle who has the beef or is it Kenya who has the beef against Garcelle. I did some digging, so we're going to get into it, okay? Now, so this is from Media Takeout. It says, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Garcelle Beauvais hates Atlanta housewife Kenya Moore. Kenya's BFF married Garcelle's cheating ex-husband. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and do a spoiler alert. I actually don't believe that. I don't think that Garcelle hates Kenya. I think Kenya is jealous of Garcelle. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to bring the receipts. But let's continue for the background info, okay? Now, it says, we just got a very interesting bit of tea. Media Takeout has learned that Real Housewives of Beverly Hills housewife Garcelle does not like Atlanta housewife Kenya Moore one bit. And she has a reason to dislike Kenya. Media Takeout spoke with a person close to both ladies who tell us that Garcelle dislikes Kenya because her best friend and publicist is actually married to Garcelle's ex-husband, CAA agent Michael Nylon. So that's who's featured in the images. So Shannon and Michael are the ones doing the selfie. And then the other image is Garcelle when she used to be married to Michael. So Garcelle was married to him first, okay? And there's allegations that Shannon was the side chick, all right? Now, Kenya's friend explained they both tried to put on a brave face and be professional, but Garcelle has issues with Kenya because she's friends with Shannon, who is with Garcelle's ex. They try not to let everyone know about their beef because it's real and they don't want it to be out there like that, the friend added. Garcelle and Michael had a very messy divorce. After she caught him cheating on her with multiple women, Garcelle explained what happened in a recent interview. Mike Nylon and I were married for 9 years. We were sort of like the Hollywood couple. I'm an actress, he's an agent. We go to fabulous parties. We had 2 boys. Mike was reliable, he was sweet. I really thought that this was my last stop. One day 9 years ago, I said, "Hey Mike, can I use your phone?" I look at your phone and I see a text that says, "I love you." I say, "What's this?" And his face changed. He said, "I've been having an affair." I said, "How long?" He said, 5 years. Oof. I am a hothead. So that night, I wrote an email to friends and colleagues at Mike's work with the subject was, "What does Tiger Woods, Jesse James, and Mike Nylon have in common?" Those are all famous men who have infamously cheated on their wives, okay? After the two split 12 years ago, they both moved on with their lives. Shortly after the split, Mike found another woman to marry, a beautiful Black woman named Shannon Barr. They've been married now for 10 years. Shannon happens to be Kenya's best friend and her publicist. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Then it continues on. Right. So that's from Media Takeout. Okay. Now, let's move on to the other part of this deep dive. I wanted to do a deep dive into the timeline of the cheating, okay? Because what is being alleged is that Shannon, and remember, this is Shannon. Shannon is the one in the selfie with Michael. That's his current wife. And Shannon is Kenya Moore's publicist and friend, okay? Now, according to good old Google, Michael and Garcelle got divorced in 2011. And then less than a year later, in 2012, Michael and Shannon got married. So if we are just being, a little bit of common sense, we're putting on our candy cane thinking hats, he had already been cheating. Logic would dictate that he had been cheating on Garcelle with Shannon. Don't forget it said that after the two split up 12 years ago, they both moved on with their lives. Shortly after the split, Mike found another woman to marry, a beautiful Black woman named Shannon Barr. They've been married now for 10 years. It's 2022. So 10 years ago was 2012. You're not going to tell me that I divorced my husband in 2011 and he's going to just randomly find a totally new person that he was not cheating on me with and marry her literally less than a year later in 2012. So, according to the Media Takeout article, they're saying, oh, that's why Garcelle hates Kenya because Kenya is friends with the woman that her ex-husband was cheating on with, and that, he then subsequently married the side chick, and that's why Garcelle hates Kenya. But I actually do not agree with this, and I'm going to tell you why. Let's go on to the next slide, okay? So this is Kenya and Shannon together, okay? Remember, Shannon is Kenya's publicist and they're friends. But let's not forget about what Kenya did to Garcelle. So this is from People magazine back in 2020. It says, Real Housewives of Atlanta star Real House of Atlanta star Kenya Moore shares throwback videos of her acting days with Garcelle Beauvais. So this is Kenya Moore trying to be very thirsty to get Garcelle's attention. This is Kenya Moore being very thirsty, trying to ride her coattails, right? So I'll read a little bit of the article and then we'll get into it. Garcelle Beauvais has joined the cast of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills for season 10. Before they were housewives, Kenya Moore and Garcelle Beauvais acted alongside each other on the Jamie Foxx show. On Friday, Moore49, who stars on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, shared a slideshow of throwback pics of herself and Beauvais53 on the Jamie Foxx show, explaining that they were, quote, practicing being a housewife even back then on the 96 sitcom, which follows aspiring actor Jamie King, aka Jamie Foxx, okay? Dun 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 dun. Okay, Moore appeared in different episodes. It goes on with that. Da, 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 da. Now, it goes on to say the different people who responded to Kenya Moore sharing the throwback videos. Okay, in the clips, Moore shared Beauvais grows upset as Heidi reveals silence. Blah 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 blah. But the sweet throwback pic prompted Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star Erica Girardi to comment, yes. Well, Real Housewives of Atlanta Candace Burruss wrote dope. Okay. Now, during the comments and in the recap, Garcelle Beauvais said nothing, paid Kenya Moore dust, didn't clap back, didn't engage. We know how Garcelle does. When she knows somebody is dirty, she disengages. She doesn't speak their name. She doesn't do anything on social media. She just pays them dust. So Garcelle was paying Kenya dust when she did her whole throwback pics of Kenya and Garcelle both being on the Jamie Foxx show, okay? Now, I don't take that as Garcelle hating Kenya because she's friends with Shannon. I take that more as Garcelle being like, I don't think it's a hate. I think it's like, hey chick, we're not friends. I don't really know you. You rock with the woman who was cheating that my ex-husband, the father of my children, were cheating with. You're her friend, you're her client. Why are you trying to do throwback pics of us acting together? Like, we're not cool like that. I don't take it as a hate. I take it as she has self-respect. She doesn't need to, she's not being thirsty. You know, if I was married to a man and I gave him 2 children and he cheated on me, and then a year later he married the side chick, there's no way I'm engaging in social media posts with her clients and her BFFs. It's not because I hate the friend. It's just I respect myself. You see what I'm saying? Okay. Now let's move on to another thing I dug up. All right, let's get into it. So next up, you guys, and I think that this is very, very telling and really important. And this is why I don't think Garcelle hates Kenya. This is why I think Kenya is jealous of Garcelle, okay? This is important. Do you guys remember back in, this is from tofab.com. I'm citing my sources. Do you guys remember back in 2021 when it was the Real Housewife Girls Ultimate Girls Trip? Kenya Moore accuses Garcelle Beauvais of pulling, quote, the race card on Kyle Richards. Kenya, why did you feel the need to come out and say that against Garcelle like Kyle Richards needs you to defend her? So this is from TooFab, okay? Moore's words come after Garcelle and Kyle Richards had an eye-opening conversation about racial stereotypes on the show. Kenya Moore has clearly been watching The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills this season and last night accused Garcelle Beauvais of pulling, quote, the race card on co-star Kyle Richards. Earlier this season, Kyle and Garcelle sat down to hash out their reunion drama after Richards accused Garcelle of not making good on the $5K bid she made during a charity auction for Children's Hospital Los Angeles. Beauvais explained the payment simply fell through the cracks innocently. And that was true. It turned out there was either something to do with like the wrong address or mismanagement. But once Garcelle learned that the payment wasn't made, she made it right. She didn't do it on purpose. Okay, before both confirmed later that she paid in full. Okay. that she paid in full. Garcelle wondered whether Kyle would have called out, quote, one of the white women in the cast if they had done the same thing, telling Richard she felt like it was weaponized towards me being a Black woman. Kyle said she didn't have any issue with Beauvais, who explained that there's a stereotype around the Black community that we don't pay our rent, that we don't tip. When Kyle explained that she doesn't have any issue with Beauvais, Garcelle then explained why the accusation especially cut to her as a Black woman. After Garcelle's explanation, Kyle told her that she totally understood what she was saying, and for that, I apologize. She added, I wasn't thinking of that at all. I appreciate you sharing that with me. I do. I really do. While they seemed to clear the air, Real Housewives of Atlanta star Kenya Moore wasn't having any of it. First of all, Kenya, it's none of your business. Shut up, Kenya. She says, I don't think Kyle Richards calling Garcelle out about not paying her donation has anything to do with color. She tweeted on Thursday night. It's not a black or white issue. It's a green issue. Let's not play the race card every episode. They weren't cool at the time. Glad they talked it through. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She watered down her stance by retweeting a fan who said Kyle probably wouldn't have brought up the issue if she knew Garcelle's perspective, and said conversations like the one that you had help us realize, learn, and grow. Listen, Kenya only did that because she got so much backlash. She got so much backlash, as she should have. Kenya, first of all, Kenya, you're not the spokeswoman for the Black community. You're not the spokeswoman for Black women. Just shut up. Worry about rhobh. Worry about your own ongoing divorce. Worry about your own business, okay? Garcelle she's got it, okay? Garcelle's got it. Leave her alone. Anyway, the fan, however, said that they believe Richards would have brought it up with anyone she was beefing with. Moore added, simply agreed. Girl, if you don't stop being the biggest pick-me we have ever heard in my life, I can't even handle it. I can't even handle it. Okay. So, to me, it's more of Kenya being jealous of Garcelle than Garcelle hating Kenya, okay? And you guys know me and my charts. You know me and my charts. I made a chart to break it down. All right, one thing I forgot to add to this chart, which I will add now, is I think that Kenya Moore is also jealous that Garcelle and Jamie Foxx have stayed really good friends. Garcelle calls Jamie Foxx her best friend. They're still friends. They have that working relationship. And then they also have that personal friendship. Whereas I don't think Kenya has that with Jamie. And don't forget, while Kenya was being thirsty and posting throwback pictures of both Garcelle and Kenya on the Jamie Foxx show, maybe there was some jealousy, maybe there was some rivalry, because Garcelle clearly was Jamie's favorite and they're still friends. And Kenya, wasn't. She was kind of like like a glorified extra, whatever you want to call it. So I think that could be a point of contention. Also, don't forget, Kenya has a history of not supporting Black women and kind of going after other women. On the Real Housewives of Girl Trip, Kenya played the hell out of Cynthia. She was the ultimate pick-me when it came to Kyle Richards, Melissa Gorga, and Luann de Lesseps. And then she tried to do the same exact thing with Garcelle with what we just talked about. Kenya, you didn't have to say, oh, Garcelle's playing the race card. She wasn't playing the race card. She said, hey, listen, this is what the experience was, and this is what my experience is. Being the only Black woman on an all-white cast, certain things mean things differently. And I think Garcelle handled the situation with class and grace. And it was a teachable moment for a lot of people, and they were able to talk about it and move on. Kenya trying to take up for Kyle, I'm like, girl, shut up. Goodbye, Kenya. Like, it's wild to me. Wild. I also think there might be a bit of jealousy there, because Garcelle is a respected actress, and she's been a continuously working actress, while Kenya Moore, although I'm not taking away from her flowers, I'm not taking away from her credits, but she gets a little bit more clowned about it. You know, I don't think that people see if you're talking just about being a respected actress, I don't think that we put Garcelle and Kenya in the same category. And again, I'm not knocking what Kenya has done. You know, the entertainment industry, it's a tough world, it's a dog eat dog world. I'm giving her her flowers for what she has accomplished. But if we're going to compare Garcelle with Kenya when it comes to being an actress, I think Garcelle clearly comes out on top. Okay. Now, I also think that there has been jealousy because Garcelle is a fan favorite while Kenya gets loathed. You know, Garcelle gets to, you know, we know on these shows, they all have their archetypes. They all have, you know, their roles that they play. And Garcelle is loved and revered and she's a fan favorite and she doesn't have to get dirty. She doesn't have to be the villain. Whereas Kenya Moore, yes, Kenya Moore understands the assignment, but she's also very much loathed. She is the villain. She's the pot stirrer. She brings the drama. She has a lot of beefs where people aren't really siding with her. Whereas any beef Garcelle is in, people pretty much tend to side with her, you know? So I think that could be a big point of contingency. Um, and baked into that, I think that Kenya might be a little jealous because Garcelle has crossover and commercial appeal, while Kenya does not. Oh, I messed up on the chart. I meant to say while Kenya does not Garcelle, Garcelle. Okay, so Garcelle has crossover and commercial appeal while Kenya does not as much. You see what I'm saying? Like, not to make it all about race, but if we're being honest, I think that Garcelle does have much more of universal, commercial, middle America crossover market appeal than Kenya does. Yes, Kenya was, you know, Miss America or Miss Universe, whatever she was. That's great. You know, yes, Kenya has acted in things and done all that. But again, if we're comparing the two, I do think that Garcelle just has a little bit more of overall commercial appeal that I think Kenya really wants. You know, I think that Kenya, and we saw that with how Kenya was really butting up to Kyle and Melissa and Luann and really made Cynthia the target while on the Real Housewives of Ultimate Girls trip, being very pick me. Like, well, if you're going to like one black girl, I want to be the black girl that you like. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go against Cynthia, even though she's been my friend, my ride or die. I'm going to go against her because it's that scarce mentality. There's only room enough for one of us. You know, if I'm the only black girl in an all white space, and now there's another black girl, well, I don't see that black girl as my ally, as my friend. I see her as my competition. So even though Cynthia is my friend, I'm going to take her down because I want to be that chosen, that picked, that token black girl that fits in the white space, right? Where Garcelle is, and Garcelle was very transparent about her own insecurities with that. You know, I think it was season 10, season 11, I think it was season 10 maybe, where they had those conversations where she was like, you know what, it's hard sometimes being the only black person here and, you know, taking different microaggressions. And she talked about it and she opened up to it, you know. And I do feel like she's been kind of like more of an ally to like Crystal during the whole thing. She's been friends with Sutton, but she's not scared to have those conversations about race and also holding people accountable. That's why she said to Crystal, well, what did Sutton say? Because if she said something dark and racist, I have to reevaluate that friendship. You know, she's not scared to talk about the tough stuff. Where when Kenya is in an all white space, you know, look at what she did on The Apprentice and the Real Housewives Girls Ultimate trip. She wants to be the picked black girl who doesn't want to talk about race. Oh, you're pulling the race card, Garcelle. And I don't think Garcelle was pulling the race card. I think she was like, hey, look, you know, you accusing me of not paying my bills. If we're being honest, there is a overarching stereotype about the black community not paying their bills. As the only black woman on this show, I have to say something about it. Not only for my own reputation, but for the community that I represent. So shut up, Kenya. And it also baked into that is the rivalry. They're around the same age. They're the same acting type. You know, sometimes you get typecast. They're both beautiful. They're both Black. They're both women. They both have similar skin tones, long Black hair. They're both very I think Garcelle is more mainstream than Kenya, but they both have a mainstream commercial appeal in general, right? So maybe there was some rivalry coming up, especially both being actresses. Maybe it was, Garcelle getting the roles that Kenya wanted, Garcelle staying friends with Jamie Foxx, her being the darling of the Jamie Foxx show. Kenya was on the show, but I didn't know she was until I did the deep dive. So maybe there was some rivalry there. That's why Kenya now is coming out, shading Garcelle and having Kyle's back, then doing that thirsty post of the throwback, being best friends with the woman who allegedly was cheating with Garcelle's husband. You know what I'm saying? And then Kenya has had issues with other strong, successful Black women, with Nene, with Phaedra, with Portia, with Candy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Even with Vivica Fox, she had issues with Vivica Fox on The Apprentice. Leave Vivica alone. To me, I love Vivica Fox. She's beautiful. She's successful. She's a strong, amazing Black woman. I love Vivica Fox. She's funny. She's talented, and Kenya was beefing with her. Also, I think a huge thing is that Garcelle has not said one word publicly against Kenya. Even when Kenya was saying, "Oh, girl, don't play the race card. I got Kyle Richards back." In my deep dive, I didn't find anything of Garcelle saying anything back to Kenya. Because as we've seen, even with like Botgate, when it comes to like Diana and everybody else, Garcelle doesn't really say bad things about other people. She just says, "Well, I don't want to talk about her," or "I'm not mentioning her name. Next question." And even on social media, even with her son being attacked, even with her being attacked, throwing her book in the trash and cyberbullying her child, she still didn't really get dirty and deep down and go all the way down to hell on social media. So it didn't surprise me that Garcelle hasn't said anything publicly against Kenya, even though, as we've seen, Kenya has said bad stuff about Garcelle publicly. Okay. And then the whole thing about, Garcelle being mad and hateful because the Shannon Barr, who was the side chick, married her husband. That's shady. Yeah, that sucks. But that was also like 10 years ago. And from what we've seen, it feels like Garcelle seems to have moved on and she's in a good place co-parenting her boys with her ex Michael. I'm sure at the time it was contentious. I'm sure at the time it was drama, but that's been over a decade ago. We've seen Garcelle date other people. Remember, she was dating Black Mike. So we saw her date someone. We saw her break up with him. We saw her have go on dates. We saw her with the matchmaker on the show. Her and Sutton are like the single gals doing it. And Garcelle gives the feel, and she hasn't said, and again, I get she did the whole, email thing when it happened 10 years ago. But again, we haven't really seen Garcelle say anything negative about her ex now, currently. She's just like, we co-parent the kids. So it seems like whatever situation they had, they've both moved on. He got remarried, allegedly to one of his side chicks. Garcelle has yet to remarry, but she's dated. She's ready to date. She's been dipping it and doing it. And she seems like she really has moved on. I've never gotten the sense from Garcelle that she was harboring bad feelings with her ex. I just never got that feeling from her. And she doesn't even really talk about him that much, and we've seen scenes with them co-parenting and, doing the handoff with the kids. Right. So yeah, it just seems to me like this coming out is really more about Kenya's own insecurity when it comes to being confronted by other intelligent, successful, commercially viable Black women. And I'm going to just be honest, who can play in all spaces. Black women who can play in white spaces, Black women who can play in Black spaces, Black women who are really palpable generally. I think she feels threatened by them. And I don't think it's cool for her to go after Garcelle like this. I don't agree with the headlines of the certain tabloids. I don't think that Garcelle hates Kenya. I think Kenya holds a jealousy and a rivalry that Garcelle is not participating in against Garcelle. That's why we have receipts of Kenya talking bad about Garcelle, but I couldn't find a single receipt of Garcelle saying a word about Kenya. Like, she pays her dust, boo-boo. All right, you guys. So I'm going to say my quick outro for the people watching on the replay, but stick around, my candy canes, because right after we will have our candy cane conversation and I'll read your comments. So I want to know what you guys think. Put it down below in the comment section. Do you think that Garcelle hates Kenya because Kenya is friends with and a client of the woman who was her ex-husband's side piece that he then went and married after they got divorced? Or do you think that Kenya seems to actually be a little bit more jealous of Garcelle? You know, she's speaking poorly of her in the press and the media. She's having Kyle Richards back. She's doing throwback photos that kind of don't even make sense. And she has a history of kind of going for other strong, intelligent Black women who are able to play in multiple spaces. So what do you guys think? Put it down below. Is this a feud you want to see? As a Black woman, this is a feud I don't want to see, but I thought it was important to talk about it. But before you comment down below, you know what to do. Go ahead and like this video and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss it when we go live. Also, be sure to share this with a friend because a kiki is always better with the community. And shop our love collection.